Now let's take a look at Fred Rubanis, who's quietly moved from 9th all the way to 3rd place in our first look at a swim bait today.
All of us that are behind Ish, we all need 30-pound bags right now, so to me, this is the easiest way to do it. It's hard for me to pick anything else up right now. But I'll tell you, this feels like saltwater fishing, throwing big swim baits and open water. If you reel them too fast, they start turning to the side, and it's just a slow retrieve.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I know it has been a while since I uploaded a video, but I couldn't take it any longer. I have got to tell you the story about the greatest swim bait of all time, especially on the bass fishing tournament scene. I'm talking none other than the Babe.
Yeah, you keep telling me that. Who is she? What? The Sultan of Swat. The King of Crash. The Colossus of Clout. The Colossus of Clout. Babe Ruth! The Great Bambino!
This swim bait right here has accounted for more winnings on the Bassmaster Elite Series than any other swim bait. Sure, guys have won checks with Kitex and Bass Tricks and other swim baits, but this bait is truly special. And I'm going to give you the brief rundown on this bait right here. And it all starts with Bass Pro Shops.
We got an angle with our Socail Bass High View. Tell us about the swim bait.
Tommy, the best thing I can tell you is ever since I was a little kid, you always hear the term, bigger baits catch bigger bass. Well, this right here, that is what you're talking about. When you're fishing a swim bait, you're basically just throwing it out and slow rolling it back in. Now, the one thing I can tell you, it does not catch a lot of bass, but when you do get a bite on this bait, it's a gorilla.
Now, why does that sound familiar? Well, that's because Fred Rubanis absolutely crushed the fish at Lake Amistad on this bait. And I believe it was in 2006.
Oh, yeah. Woo. Come on, baby. Stay on there.
If this one is as big as it looks, Fred Rubanis is going to move to the top of the leaderboard, joining Mike Reynolds, Greg Hackney, Ish Monroe, and Kevin Van Dam as guys who have held the lead so far today.
Tommy, the coolest thing about the way he's fishing, he is swinging for the fence. He is not getting many bites, but when he does, it's just the size of this. Oh my God. He swallowed it. Yeah!
Woo! There you go. Fred Rubanis goes all the way from 9th to 1st place.
This is like watching the movie Rocky. You're just waiting for the next punch.
And it got a cult following. And the reason of the following is these things have been discontinued. You could not find them anywhere. It was a flop by Bass Pro Shop standards. And one problem with this bait originally, when you bought 10 of them, only 2 would run right. Well, after Rubanis absolutely whacked some jinx on this thing.
Whoa! Ah! Woo! Look where he ate that. Right at the boat, I watched it eat.
It got into the hands of a guy named Steve Kennedy. If you know much about Steve Kennedy, he's an awesome fisherman. Very independent. He's a big thinker, kind of like the Joe Rogan of bass fishing. He doesn't go by the grain. He goes outside the bend quite a bit. And it got into Steve's hands, and he won a bunch of money on this thing. Caught a lot of fish out at the Clear Lake event. Won West Point, Georgia in 2011 on this. And he has a giant stash of these XPS swim baits. And the legend goes is when Kennedy found out how truly special this bait was, he called his dad. His dad went to Bass Pro Shops, found them in clearance bins, and bought everything they could find. And then just a couple years ago, a guy by the name of Takahiro Omori absolutely destroyed the field at Wheeler Lake in Alabama. And guess what he was throwing?
Big. I put my paw down, and I got bite. That's a 6. That's a 6. That's a 6-pounder. It's huge. Yes, sir. It's gotta be a 6. I knew it!
Takahiro found out from Kennedy about this bait. He'd kept it in his back pocket, and the story on that goes, Todd doesn't have very many left at all. He actually modified the bait so he could run a line through system, so when a fish bit, it wouldn't destroy his bait. The problem everybody has when you find these XPS swim baits, and they are really hard to find, they go for ridiculous prices on eBay, is you don't know what you're going to get. You might buy 2 and neither of them run at all. And there were some flaws in the original XPS design, and that's why the Babe came about. So what is it about this swim bait that makes it better than the original XPS? The number one reason is it swims right. The front 2 fins that were on the original XPS have been gone away with. 3F Fishing did the research. They figured out in the original XPS swim bait mold, the reason they wouldn't all run straight is because they weren't made to run straight. The front 2 fins on the bottom were offset. Well, this creates, like an airplane, in hydrodynamics, it made this thing spin and do crazy circles. Now, when you get that right retrieve speed down, this thing is going to run perfectly straight. Now, this version, the harness version, is not meant to throw out in 15, 20 foot of water. Now, maybe you have some really clear water and fish are feeding up, you can get away with this, but this is meant for deadly slow retrieves. It is a very innocent swim bait, and when I say innocent, it does not have a crazy tail thump. It just has subtle head action, and that tail moves back and forth. When big bass are looking for big meals, they don't want to go over the most aggressive fish in the lake. They're looking for something innocent that they can sneak up on and get a quick, easy meal.
Oh my God, look at that. The freaking Babe swim bait, the secret swimmer. Another one. Oh God.
So let's talk about the retrieve and how to use the Babe, where to throw it at. I'm going to throw the Babe in relatively shallow, clear water. This is a visual feeding bait. I want bass to notice the Babe as it's walking down the street, sort of say. I'm going to throw it on a 7.6 heavy action rod, 20-pound fluorocarbon. I can even go down to 17. This bait doesn't weigh a whole lot, just over an ounce in the harness version. Now they make a non-harness version where you can put a swim bait head up to 2 ounces on. I definitely look at anything that's got a 6 or 7 aught hook. Make sure you buy a bottle of mended, because man, after a couple fish, this thing will get chewed up, it will rip, but you can mend this back really, really easily. This is great for throwing over flats, shallow points, around boat docks, any place that you want to bait above structure. Those bass that suspend around brush piles and clear lakes like Lanier, Clark's Hill, where Steve Kennedy used to win with this bait, that's typical stuff for the Babe. You don't have to get real crazy. You don't need 8-foot swim bait rods and big heavy duty reels. Most of your common bass gear, you can throw this bait right here on. Everybody always asks, what's the best color of the Babe? Which one should I use? And personally, there's only 5 colors they make, and that's the only 5 you need. You just need to pin it to the lake. The first color is the natural. That's your IU. It's got a greenish back, a yellow line, white belly. The natural is going to imitate anything from threadfin shad. It's going to imitate a bluegill. It is just an all-around natural looking swim bait. The second one is KP's SCH, and if you don't know what SCH stands for, I'm gonna let Randy Moss tell you.
Don't write checks, how do you pay these guys?
Straight cash, homie.
This color is great in clear water, and you just want a little bit of flash. Very natural, a clear belly, so it's not going to stand way out. Now the third color is a color I designed, and I got to help throw these prototypes, and it's called #FFJ, which stands for Fishing for Jaints. You know I like to catch jaints, and by the way, if you want to buy a Jaints t-shirt, there's a link in my description to this video. But anyway, that color is designed like the Megabass Pro Blue that's really popular, and what I like about that color, it's a visual color, but it's not overpowering. If you want to fish really clear water, it's great. If the water's got a little color, it's still going to stand out. The fourth color, Southsider. Now, Southsider is OG. This is the color that's very similar to what Takahiro Omori used at Wheeler Lake. It's very similar to the color of some of the original XPS swim baits that Steve Kennedy was using. It's just there to imitate your basic gizzard shad that's really popular on these southern reservoirs and all across the United States. It's got a black back and its silhouette's really good, especially in stained water. This color I recommend highly if you don't know what to get, because it's going to imitate forage. The fifth and last color is called Rhino-licious. Rhino-licious is basically your standard chartreuse shad. You can throw this about anywhere. Really good and clear to stained water. The white on the belly helps show up when the water's got a little color to it. Again, it's going to imitate a bait fish. A threadfin shad, a herring. Rhino-licious is awesome. I'm not up here to try to sell you a bait. I'm trying to educate you on what I think is the greatest swim bait of all time. And if you need any more proof, log on to Milliken Fishing's YouTube channel. Look up Ben Milliken swim bait fishing. He catches some slaunch daddies on this thing, huge limits of bass. Also look up Cole Harkin and his wife. They have a great channel. I think it's called Cole and Jay, and Cole catches his PB on the FFJ color, the Babe. So the proof is in the pudding. Log on to 3ffishing.com if you want to buy some Babe swim baits. The Baitman is out, and I can't wait to bring you even more new exclusive content.